what we've come to understand is that everything we want in our life, everything we want in our health, in our bank accounts, in our career, they only come from being in a powerful state of being. Because that's where connection is. That's where we're connected to ideas. That's where we're connected to intuition. When we feel good, that's where we're connected to a higher power, whatever, your religious or spiritual beliefs are, to universe or spirit or infinite intelligence. But that's where everything that we're looking for happens. For a big part of our system is wired for survival. And our brain is actually scanning for danger 4 times a second. The brain is scanning for threat 4 times a second. So we're always looking for threat. And when we are in the primal state, we are utilizing the sympathetic nervous system. We are in a fight or flight.
Welcome to the Daily Soul Bytes Show. My name is Bola, Abimbola, life coach and energy practitioner. And this is the show where we interview guest authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs in the fields of spirituality, psychology, and leadership to share their insights for the expansion of collective consciousness. And today I have a very special guest all the way from Washington, D.C. Her name is Naima Spencer. Welcome to the show, Naima.
Thank you, Bola. Thank you so much for having me.
And I'll read a bit about your bio, Naima, before we start. Naima Spencer is a certified mindset facilitator and former CIA officer, helping professionals conquer fear, anxiety, and self-doubt. As a mindset facilitator, she specializes in transformative mindset change and self-improvement. After shifting her thoughts and eliminating self-sabotaging beliefs, Naima transformed her life into one of purpose and empowerment, going from minimum wage jobs to having a top secret clearance and becoming a CIA officer for 12 years. And now she's living a life of purpose, helping others turn their lives around and break through their limiting beliefs through mindset mastery. That is wonderful. I love that because mindset is so key. So I think it's really, really powerful, the work that Naima does. And I'm looking forward to her sharing some of the things that she has learned and the way that she helps to expand collective consciousness. So tell us, Naima, how did you get to this place? This place where you started off as a CIA officer, and how did that lead you to a place where you are now mastering your own thoughts and helping others to master theirs?
That's a great question. My journey actually started 25 years ago when I moved to the States from Morocco. And I moved to this country in pursuit of the American dream. But a few years later, I found out, or I realized that dream was actually turning into a nightmare. I felt completely stuck. I couldn't figure out how to change my situation. I was stuck in minimum wage jobs, whether that was babysitting or waitressing, and I couldn't see a way out of that situation. And it wasn't one of my goals coming to the US. I wanted to go back to school and have an MBA. And of course, as many or all immigrants, we come here to create a better life for ourselves, to create a better future. But I just felt stuck and I felt powerless and I couldn't figure out how to change my situation until I found out about the powerful transformative mindset work. And that's when I started to first know more about myself and understand myself better, understand what my values are, understand what my limiting beliefs are, and figure out what they were at the time, and start working on myself to transform those limiting beliefs. And it wasn't until I did that my life started to change and I started to turn around, things around, and I went from doing that. I was basically able to finally get the courage to apply for that MBA that I wanted to do for so many years, and I couldn't have the courage to do that. And finally, I was able to do that. But I didn't get to that point until I always say that when the pain of change or the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, that's when we take action. But a lot of times, when you look back and you go, you don't have to wait until that point. We can make that change before then. But for me at the time, because I didn't know any better, I had to wait until I got to a point where I just could not keep going in that same life, in that same routine. And that's when I made the decision to go back to school. And it's amazing how when we make a decision, things to just start fall into place and start to change. And then I went from that to going back to school, to having my MBA, to working in the pharmaceutical industry, to moving from Philadelphia to the DC area, and ended up working as a contractor for the government for so many years. I became a CIA officer. I did that for 12 years to finding my purpose of helping others and helping them turn their life around and helping them break through their limiting beliefs, just like I did for myself.
Yes, I get that. It is such a powerful thing when we realize that our thoughts have really a life force behind them. It sometimes seems very innocent, but I know that I remember, thank you for sharing that actually, Naima. First of all, thank you, because it's really, to come to that place where you're able to not just live your life, but share that life and go public with it. That's another level. So I do resonate with that, with the need to really come to a place where we are understanding our thoughts, because I tell you, it is such a challenge to understand that this body, this physical ego, has its own thoughts, and they're very different from the higher self thoughts. I remember reading about Ramana Maharishi when I was 18, and he was talking about, the beliefs that the physical ego self has and the beliefs that the higher self has. And that is not something we hear on a day-to-day normally. And it's not something, and it's becoming much more common now, at least in some of the timelines, I mean. But really, it is still something that is quite strange. I really want us to delve into this and break this down, because understanding our thoughts, it may, to those of us who have really come to a place where we know that we have different set of thoughts. We have the lower perspectives and the higher perspectives. And that's what my book is about, Daily Soul Bytes. Daily Soul Bytes talks about the physical perspective, the physical ego perspectives, which are lower perspectives of everything around us, every single experience, every facet of life, has the lower perspectives, which are usually around fear, around survival. And then you have the higher perspectives, which are usually around love and courage and forgiveness. And these are things that we can come to become aware of within our own self, that lower and higher, and really beginning to align. Because I believe this universe is a universe of choice and alignment, beginning to know what is within us, the lower and the higher, and then aligning to what we prefer for our best outcomes. So I wanted to ask you, Naima, from your perspective, would you say that negative beliefs are evil, or are they essential in terms of understanding how to maneuver them? Because sometimes we resist our own flow because we fear negative beliefs. We actually have a fear of them. And that in itself can be a resistance to our moving forward. What's your perspective of negative beliefs on their own?
So we all have negative beliefs. We all have limiting beliefs. No matter how long your self-help journey has been, you're always gonna, you'll be in a different situation, and then you realize that you have a limiting belief about certain areas of your life. And that's why in the self-help, they say it's never a destination, it's a journey. And every time we live an experience, every time we go through an experience, we discover something new about ourselves. That's the purpose of challenges. So I don't necessarily think that negative beliefs are evil or anything like that, but we've been through something that led us to believe what we believe, but then we don't, as we grow in consciousness, we don't have to keep believing the same thing. And this is also where awareness comes. You know, where awareness comes in, we have to figure out how to start understanding ourselves first. Because many of us, we feel that we're operating on autopilot. We just get caught up in the routines of life, and we live life unthinkingly, just doing it, just going through the motion. And we're living life waiting for the weekend, and, you know, just waiting for that weekend to go out and have that drink, or living for the weekend, and or living for a vacation that we plan. And life is happening now. But most of the time we're projecting ourselves, you know, days from now or months from now, or we're thinking about the past, and we're never in the present moment. We're never aware of what's happening within us, what we're thinking, what the stories we're telling ourselves. Every time we go through an experience, we're telling ourselves a story, and we don't question that. We don't question the thoughts, and we just go with them. Whatever we're thinking, we just believe and go with it. You know, one of the things I tell my clients is, don't believe everything you think. They're just thoughts, you know, and thoughts can be changed. But the first and essential thing, in my opinion, is to start having that awareness, is to become aware of what's going on up here, to be in a present moment. And that's why, because that's all we have. You know, tomorrow is not a promise. All we have is this moment right now, and that's why it's called the present. So awareness, in my opinion, is key to starting to learn, you know, more about ourselves, learn more about our values. I remember a long time ago, when I just started in this self-help field, and I went to a seminar, and they asked about, like, what are your values? And I had no idea what my values were. I had to really stop and think about that. And I thought, okay, what are my values? What do I stand for? And I felt like I was living life unthinkingly. I wasn't even aware that there was another reality that existed for me. I didn't even I had to do a lot of work on myself, and I had to basically remind myself on a moment by moment basis to stay present, to question my thoughts, to be present with what's happening in my mind, and to question it, and to not believe everything that I think. You know, that's really important.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Naima. So true. I love what you said when you mentioned that we don't often know that there's a different way. Each and every one of us have been conditioned in a particular way. By the age of 3, 4, 5, you're already conditioned in a particular, the way we think is already kind of wired within us. And we always have to, first of all, come to a place of inquiry. I love what you said, that you realize that you didn't actually know yourself. And this happens to all of us. I also went through that time when I really did not know who I was or have an interest in. And there's a fear. There's a fear we often have in getting to know a different self. And it's ongoing, because every level we're at, there's something else that we need to go and evolve into. Get into that present space, moving from a negative state of being, when our being is really controlled by that ego self, that negative state, that fear-driven state, moving from that state to a more positive state, a more loving, a more compassionate place. It's almost like a pendulum. It goes like that. negative to positive, and then we swing to and fro for a while until we come to that present. We're finding ourselves having more and more moments when we can be present, we can be neutral, we can actually have no judgment. That present space, a place of no judgment, a place of infinite possibilities, and allows us to align. Doesn't mean we can't be angry, doesn't mean we will not have negative thoughts, but those thoughts are being driven by the higher self. Once we come to that neutral space, which is where the higher self dwells, that higher self, which is the spirit part of us, that part of us that is part of infinite wisdom, part of God, we are able to actually dive into life as we need to, and in the different personality constructs that we have. And I do want to find out from you how you work with your clients, Naima, because getting to that place from the negative state to that present space, it's definitely a journey. But there's so many different modalities that we can use, and the modalities we used yesterday, they're not with the modalities we're going to use today. But knowing the modalities around us, there are different modalities, billions of modalities. But the modalities that really resonate with us are not a coincidence. Therefore, they're telling us we're being guided to who can help us. I'd love to know how you help your clients go from that place where, either they don't really realize, that time when we don't realize, but we do have different thoughts. We can have different thoughts. We can align. We're not victims, not helpless. We're empowered beings. And all is as it needs to be, that journey as it needs to be. But getting clients from that place of a negative state of being to that present space, how do you work with your clients? What can they expect when they come to you?
So one of the important things I love to share with my clients is that we may not be able to control the thoughts that come in. We may not be able to do that, but we are able to control the thoughts that we dwell on. So it's not about, thoughts are going to be popping in our head nonstop. According to psychology, we have over 60,000 thoughts every day. So it can be hard and challenging to control the quality of the thoughts we think, but we can control what we dwell on. So that's really important. And it's a fine line between the two, but that's really important. A thought can come in and we can dismiss it, let it go. But when it's something empowering, then we can decide to dwell on that because it's supporting us. It's not something that will hinder us. One of the concepts that I teach my clients is called the 2 states of being. This is something that I learned through my coaching certification. It's the 2 states of being, and that explains how there are only 2 states of being. There are powerful states of being, and there are primal states of being. So powerful states of being are states like joy, excitement, gratitude, love, and essentially feelings that feel good. And primal states of being are states like jealousy, overwhelm, anger, frustration. And these are states, obviously, that don't feel good. And I like to call them the suffering states. We're talking about emotional suffering here, not physical suffering, but it's emotional suffering. Every time we move into anger, every time we're frustrated, every time we're feeling overwhelmed, we're in emotional suffering. So it's important to understand that throughout our day, we're either in one state or the other. We're either in a primal state or we're in a powerful state on a moment by moment basis. And we're human. There is no judgment here. There is no right or wrong. We throughout the day, we go in from one state to the other. It's normal. But what we've come to understand is that everything we want in our life, everything we want in our health, in our bank accounts, in our career, they only come from being in a powerful state of being. Because that's where connection is. That's where we're connected to ideas. That's where we're connected to intuition. When we feel good, that's where we're connected to a higher power, whatever, your religious or spiritual beliefs are, to universe or spirit or infinite intelligence. But that's where everything that we're looking for happens. And if you look at, just to give you a little bit of the science behind it, the majority of our system is actually wired for, a big part of our system is wired for survival. And our brain is actually scanning for danger 4 times a second. The brain is scanning for a threat 4 times a second. So we're always looking for threat. And when we are in the primal state, we are utilizing the sympathetic nervous system. We are in the fight or flight. But when we switch to a powerful state, when we're feeling good, we are actually utilizing the other expression of the nervous system, the parasympathetic expression of the nervous system. That's where health is. That's where relaxation is. And what we found is that every time when we're in a powerful state and we move back into a primal state, all of our energy goes into survival. And once we are in survival, it's not a time to thrive. It's not a time to be connected to ideas, to intuition. It's not a time to think about innovation. It's a time to survive. All of your energy is focused on surviving. And that's really important. And we don't have, we are wired this way because there is a good time to be in survival when there is actually a physical threat to us. Your body will help you survive. It will help you, run faster. Your eyes will dilate so you can see better. But the problem these days is that we can feel the same way just sitting in our home, sitting in front of a TV and having an anxiety attack, and we'll be in survival, in fight or flight. But there is no imminent danger. It's all happening in the mind. And that's a big issue nowadays. People are feeling anxiety and feeling overwhelmed every single day and don't even understand why. When you think about it, they can't even realize why they're feeling anxious, but it's there. And that's because they've been practicing it so much that the body now just reacts to it. It doesn't even need to be, you don't even need to be thinking about something that gives you anxiety. You just wake up and anxiety is right there because we've been practicing it for so long. And that's really a huge problem that I see with a lot of people right now. So back to the thoughts and back to our thinking. And what we found is that every time we move into a suffering state, there is one reason and one reason only for that. And it's because of our thinking. The reason why we feel overwhelmed, it's because there is a thinking pattern behind it. The reason why we feel angry, it's because there is a thinking pattern behind it. So it's really critical to going back to it, to be aware and to, question the thinking, to just, I tell my clients that it's a lot easier to pay attention to how we feel than to pay attention to what we're thinking, to our thoughts. It's a lot easier to just check in with yourself, a few times a day. How am I feeling right now? And why am I feeling this way? If I'm feeling good, then that's fine. But if I'm not feeling good, then why am I not feeling good right now? Why am I having this fear? Why am I having this anxiety? Because I'm thinking something that's causing me to have that anxiety. Every time we move into a primal state, it's because of our thinking.
So thank you for that, Naima, how do you help your clients? How do you work with them to move from, because you're correct, this is the amount of thoughts going through our heads every day, 60, 90,000 thoughts I've read somewhere. We can't control that, but it's not something that stops us, that should stop us. It does, but it doesn't have to. And it's that choice, because once we are aware, and I totally agree with you, once we're aware that we cannot control the thoughts coming in, it's about how else can we live life? Is there another way to live life? Is there another way to think, another way to feel? And it's not for everybody because it is hard work. It takes dedication. It takes a zero tolerance because these negative thoughts can be quite addictive. They they're wired into, embedded into our psyche, into our nervous system. And we really have to be determined about it. So it is a choice and it takes practice. And I'd love to know, for those who are resonating with this, it takes a decision we're making every single day, think differently, to be aware, to really understand our own self, to love ourselves, and to detach, from what is not us, what does not belong to us. How do you support your clients to do that?
So there is a concept that I use in my coaching, and to just explain it briefly, all the thoughts that we have that are preventing us from moving forward. If you look at a specific area of your life and you're not where you want to be, that's because you have a limiting belief in that area of your life. That's the reason why it's preventing you from getting from where you are to where you want to be. And it's important to figure out what those limiting beliefs are, because limiting beliefs, or whatever belief we have, they create the thoughts that we think. And then the thoughts that we think, they lead to the emotions and the feelings that we have. And then the feelings that we have, they lead to the actions that we take. And then the actions produce the results that we have in life. So every time, if someone is stuck in a specific area of their life, it's because they're caught in this cybernetic loop. Beliefs lead to thoughts, thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, and actions lead to results. And the results that we have, they always reinforce the belief that you have in the initial place. So for example, if you realize that you have a belief that money is hard to make or relationships don't work out, those beliefs are going to lead to specific thoughts. When you are in a situation, for example, if you're around money, you're going to have thoughts that are in perfect correlation with the belief that you have about money. And those thoughts will lead you to feel feelings of insecurity or frustration that, for example, money is hard to make, or, you can't make money. You don't have opportunities that will lead you to make more money. And then those will lead you to take action. Sometimes that action is inaction, self-sabotaging ourselves. Even when the opportunity presents itself, we don't take the action because we're feeling fear or we're feeling insecure, and we don't want to invest in certain things because we're afraid we're going to lose money, for example. And those actions will lead to the results that we don't have enough money. And those results will reinforce the belief. See, I knew it. I told you, money is hard to make, or, money creates problems, or whatever the situation is. So we use a system that's called the decision matrix. And we use that to change those limiting beliefs. Because when you look at a belief, there is a 2 millimeter distinction that beliefs are actually decisions. Those beliefs that we came to at a younger age because we didn't know any better, we gave a meaning to a situation that we lived, and we made up our mind about that specific situation, and then we used that belief and we lived our life through the lens of that belief. But those beliefs are nothing but decisions, and we make decisions every day. So one of the things I use to support my clients is to make new decisions. So once we figure out what the limiting belief is, then we move into making a new decision. And a lot of times that new decision is some sort of the opposite of the limiting belief. If I realize that one of my limiting beliefs is money is hard to make, then the new decision that I want to make in life is that money comes to me easily and abundantly. And then we'll look for evidence in our life. We all have evidence in our life where money came to us easily. We find money, or someone gives us a gift, or we get a tax return or something. And even when we don't have evidence in our life, we can borrow evidence from somebody else's life. Why? Because if it's possible for someone else, it's possible for us. And we want to live life thinking that anything we want to create in life is possible. You know, I'm not saying 100% guarantee, but if I think that it's possible, it's going to give me the courage to pursue what I want.
Mm.
And it is possible. If it's possible for someone else, it has to be possible for me, you know? So once we figure out, like I said, the limiting belief, we come up with a new decision. And then that process is called neural sculpting. And we start rewiring the brain, deactivating the old neural network of the old decision that we have, or the limiting belief, and installing a new empowering decision so that we can start having new empowering thoughts that support us. And those thoughts, like I said, will lead to having better feelings. And that's how we change, you know, going from a limiting belief to an empowering one. It's, you know, through a technique that I use called the decision matrix.
Mm. Thank you, Naima. Because I really think, you know, sharing these modalities are key, because it really helps, you know, those listening to know whether they, you know, what they can get, what, you know, what can change, what can be transformed. Because there is always that need for us to show ourselves love. That change doesn't come from a place of force. It doesn't come from a place of hardship. It comes from a place of love. No matter how much devastation we're going through, no matter how much suffering we're going through, we have to find a way of instilling some love. That physical ego self has to feel safe, has to feel secure, whether it's coming from a glimpse of higher self through a prayer, through an awakening, or through a coach or through a therapist. We may need to seek that help from somewhere else. And asking for help cannot be a dirty thing. We've got to be open to asking for help. I have asked for help, and I still ask for help when I need it. You know, it's just something that we need sometimes. And really coming to that place where we know I need someone to help me give myself permission to step into another way, to show myself love, to experience something else. Because some of the benefits that we will have when we are in that place where we understand the thoughts, we are mindful of them, we're integrating, we're holding space. We're holding space for these thoughts. Because the negative thoughts don't stop coming. We've got to integrate. This is what integration is. Holding space for the different polarities, the negative and the positive. Holding space for that negative, for all those negative beliefs, repeating and addicting us to them. We've got to come to that place where we're holding space in love, in compassion, which is why self-care is so key. You know, that physical ego self has to feel love, has to feel able to surrender to that higher self, because that is the ultimate goal. And I'd love you to share with us, Naima, because I know you use a lot of tools, visualization. I actually remember, because it's all about frequency. You know, when we are operating at that place where we are able to align to love quicker, to forgiveness quicker, we're able to really touch those beliefs, those emotions that, you know, give us a better sense of well-being. When we get to that place, it's a different way of life. And I'd love you to share what life is like. What is life like when, you know, what can people expect when they really have come to that place? I mean, it's an ongoing journey, but a place where they're able to experience a lot more positivity in life. What is there to look forward to? Because that may inspire. That really is about inspiring those who are in that negative, being driven by that negative space. And it's not, for some of us, it's an ongoing thing. For some of us, it's a momentary thing. But it's about being aware of the negative belief and knowing that there is something else I can aspire to. So what kinds of benefits? What kind of life is there? I call it the fourth density experience. What life is there to live? What is life like? What kind of behaviors will we see? What kind of behaviors can we expect when we have come to that new level of experience in life?
It just makes me think of one particular word: when you're at peace. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place to be. I know a lot of people, we talk about love, about gratitude, a lot of the high vibration emotions that we experience, and they're just amazing and beautiful. But I think for me, when you're at peace, I can't even think of anything else that can top that, to be honest with you, because you're just so forgiving. It's amazing when, you can look at the person sitting in traffic in front of you and they're on their phone and the light is green and you don't have the urge to just, blow your horn and ask them to leave, and you're not patient, you're just forgiving, you're just at ease with everybody around you. But it starts within. The moment you figure out, how to be at peace with everything that's around you, with how you live your life, with what's showing up in your life, the experiences that are showing up in your life. You know that everything that happens to you, and you make up your mind that everything that happens to me is happening for a reason. And at that point, a challenge is no longer a challenge. I'm not looking at that experience as a challenging one, but I'm looking for the good in it. Napoleon Hill said, with every adversity comes a seed of great benefit. And I love that quote. But you have to be able to drop the resistance so you can see that seed of great benefit. We have to be able to accept what is. And once we get to that point where whatever happens in our life, we're so accepting of it because we know there is something good that's going to come out of it. Nothing can bother you anymore because you know it's happening for a reason. I'm not looking at the experiences as challenges right now, because even if it is a challenge in some way and it's something that I have to deal with, but I know that I'm going to grow through that experience. I know that I'm going to learn something about myself that I didn't know before. And I know it's going to take me to the next stage of my life, or it's a stepping stone for me to take me to where I'm supposed to be, to where I'm going. And the moment you change your focus, because where focus goes, energy flows. Once you change your focus and you're no longer labeling that experience or that situation as a challenge, it's like, what else is there now? You're accepting of it. There is no resistance. You're not going against the flow of life. You're going with life, whatever is presenting to you. Because the moment we resist what is, we disconnect from reality. That's it. And the moment we disconnect from reality, we don't have access to the ideas and to the resources that we need to solve that situation, because we're disconnected from reality. Because the fact of the matter is, whatever is happening is happening. And when we think that what's happening should not be happening, I think that's the height of an intelligent thinking. And then the moment we do that, we deny what is, we disconnect from reality. But when we accept the experiences that show up in our life and we're at peace no matter what, I think it's an amazing and it's a beautiful place to be,
Totally. I agree. Peace. That is so powerful. And it sometimes seems elusive when we look at, when we watch the news and we see all the things going on around us. It seems like peace is never going to be, a possibility. But it is. It is just about how we start from within and reflect outwards. I always say, in terms of what we believe, We can't sit on the fence when it comes to two things. One is whether we believe we live in a world of abundance or a world of lack. We have to know which one we believe, and we cannot sit on the fence. Maybe it's a lack, maybe it's abundance. We've got to be very certain whether we live in a lack or abundance. And when we come to this place where we know and we choose it and we keep aligning to it, whatever we focus on expands. I love what you said, is that energy goes where we focus. And it's expanding that focus, whatever it is where we are thinking, putting our effort in, feeling, whatever we are focusing on will continue to expand. So when we believe we live in a world of lack, that perception will continue to expand. When we believe we're living in a world of abundance, and abundance, there's so many things, that carry the abundance frequency. It's not just money. Money is key, really, really powerful. There's also gifts. There's also trade. There's also synchronicity, imagination, using our visual boards. Whatever we can see, we can really come to manifest. So this is really, really powerful discussion, looking at how we can come to perceive things in a different way by what we receive. And I know that we haven't touched on intuition, but I'd love you to come back and talk about intuition, because at the end of the day, those thoughts we're receiving, some of them are really thoughts from our guides. That's another level. How we can come to understand which of those thoughts is really coming from our guides and which thoughts are part of that endemic, false matrix, because we can come to discern and detach and accept, holding space, but discerning what is ours from those thoughts and what does not belong to us. So I do want to thank Naima today. Really, do you have any final words before we go, Naima?
Like I said in the beginning, just don't believe everything you think. Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Shakespeare said that. Thinking makes it so. So just be mindful of your thoughts. Be mindful of the meaning you're giving the experiences that you're going through. Because, like we say, two people can experience the same experience and experience it differently. So is it really the experience, or is it the meaning that we're giving the experience? And we just need to be mindful of that.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Naima. And where can people find you when they want to connect with you?
My website is naimaspencer.com, and I offer an hour discovery call. So anybody who wants to run something by me or have a discussion, I'm open to that. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for joining me today, Naima.
Thank you so much for having me, Bola. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Lovely. And I'd like to thank everyone who's joined us today, and to encourage you to check out Naima's website and to also grab your copy of Daily Soul Bytes. It's available anywhere books are sold online now, in paperback, in Kindle, and audiobook. And I'd love you to subscribe to the Daily Soul Bytes Show if you haven't subscribed yet. Like and share. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Daily Soul Bytes Show. Bye-bye.